What's up, guys? It's Jim with Awaken TCG, bringing you guys another locals video this week. And this week, you guys voted pretty much unanimously for our first EB01 leader that we bring to locals is going to be purple and yellow Crocodile, as I'm sure you've already seen by the title. And we did end up getting the win this week, going undefeated in all of our games. Really good games, too. A lot of good decks. This leader is really good. I played Croc since OP04. If you've been following the channel since then, I'm sure you've seen the Croc video I made in OP04 for locals and the Croc video I made in OP05 for locals. And following it up again here in OP06, we were playing Purple Yellow Croc again. I think in OP05 and OP04, Croc was like almost pushing into tier 2, but he was never really there. He was always like high tier 3. I think this is the first time ever that I can officially say that this leader is officially tier 2. I don't think he's up with the tier 1s, right? He's not like your Sakazukis, your Morias, etc. But he is definitely a tier 2 deck that is going to pretty much stomp any deck below tier 2, because he just straight up starves your opponent of resources, just constantly playing large bodies while also healing and removing bodies at the same time. This leader is very, very strong and can definitely stall out your opponent. If you ever played Blue Yellow Queen, he's kind of similar, but I'd say a little bit more consistent and a little bit, I'd say easier to play just a little bit. This is not an easy leader by any means, but he's definitely really, really strong. So let me stop yapping and let's get into the deck list. So first up here, as we do have a Baroque leader, we are running the Baroque package, and that comes with 4 of Baroque Searcher, Miss Valentine. So Miss Valentine is kind of a weak searcher on paper. It's a 2/2, a 2-cost searcher when most searchers are 1 cost. The only upside to her is she can search herself. This is any Baroque card with Baroque in its type. So does not exclude Miss Valentine. You can search herself. And also she has a trigger. Dom -1, you can play the card, which obviously in this leader is going to be free if we have not already used a Dom- that turn. So pretty self-explanatory. Next up here, we've got Miss Wednesday. Miss Wednesday, one of the new cards included in EB01. Really, really strong card in this deck. If you're playing against a deck without any removal, this is like basically a ramp 2 because they can't remove it. Unless they just don't want to attack you, which is also good for you. So really, really strong card. If you don't know what it does, it's pretty much just, it does Dom- on its own, and then it brings back 1 active. But obviously, it negates itself, but then the leader is going to bring out another Dawn active, which means we just ramped 1 on our opponent's attack. So really, really strong card there, and also a good blocker in the late game when we need something to, not allow us to die. There's definitely other cards that do that, but having blockers is obviously always good. And next up here, another new EB card. We have Mr. 2 Bong Clay with the 1 of alt art. Honestly, seeing this alt art in real life, I really do like it. It's one of the nicest alt arts for sure. Still a little disappointed that they didn't give, Bong Clay his shining alt art and they made it a Nami, but hey, I think it's cool, a cool little callback to when he transforms to Nami. So, but other than that, as far as the card goes, yeah, this card's insane, guys. I think everybody knows that. It's a 4/1 that ramps you active. We're just ramping to our large costed characters in this deck. That's the main reason we're playing this. It's also searchable off Miss Valentine since it is former Baroque. Miss Valentine searches anything with Baroque in the type, not Baroque type specifically, so you can search this out. And pretty much, I just put this on board early to ramp into my big stuff, and then just kind of let it sit there until my opponent plays something big, and then from there, this is now a large attacker out of nowhere. Obviously, it's easy to swing back into, but, turning this into a 9K off your opponent's Moria is just always going to be insanely strong. Yeah, should not... I'm not going to say it shouldn't have been printed, but yeah, this card is really, really good, and there's a reason it's the secret rare of the EB01 set. Next up here, we've got 2 of Miss All Sunday. So Miss All Sunday, still really good in Croc. One of the best triggers we can hit in this deck by far. Obviously, we only have 2 of them, so the odds we really hit this trigger are pretty low, but when we do, it's one of the best. Pretty much, it's just another ramper that I can play early. These 3 cards right here are pretty much my options to ramp into the big stuff later in the game. There's another one that we'll talk about later that is pretty niche, but this is really good when we have 5 Dawn, we're going first, and if we didn't get a Miss Wednesday, I would rather play this than a Bon Clay. I'd rather use all my Dawn and draw a card than play this and get too active. So really good there, and also just a really good body to swing with. Only a 2 of, just because it's kind of bricky in a lot of scenarios. And when I'm trashing cards with my 8-cost Croc, it's definitely one of the ones I'm going to choose a lot of the time, just because later in the game it doesn't do anything, especially when you're on 10 Dawn. Next up here, let's get into our searchable 2Ks. So right here we have Miss Doublefinger. This is the last ramp card I was talking about. So obviously you'd rather not play a 4/4 2K onto the board. But in scenarios where we want to ramp to a certain number for the next turn, I'm going to play her out. I actually did it in one of the games today. You'll see that because I wanted to ramp into one of my bigger cards the next turn. But pretty much always a 2K. It does have the trigger that you can play the card for a surprise attacker that'll get you lethals in a lot of scenarios. And also, just a randomly good ramp in the early game if you really need it. But yeah, probably the best 2K in the deck by far, I'd say. Next up here, we've got Miss 13 and Miss Friday. So this card is 99.9% for the 2K counter. There is one scenario where this card gets like a niche use with its trigger effect. Basically, this card has a free trigger. You can just play the card. It's a 1K body that doesn't do anything, but it has an effect, activate main. You can trash this character and another Baroqueworks character and get 1 active Dawn. So the only scenario where I'd ever use this and trigger this effect is when I'm going second. I just played Miss Valentine on turn 1. My opponent attacks me on 3 Dawn. I trigger this off life. We now have Miss 13, Miss Friday on board, plus Miss Valentine. I can trigger this effect, trash this, trash Valentine, ramp from 4 to 5, and now we can play Miss All Sunday, ramp right to 6. Next turn we're on 8, we can play what we want. So that is the only scenario that this actually gets a niche use, but other than that is just a searchable 2K. Next up here, let's get into our searchable large character, probably the best card in the deck, debatably. It's going to be 8-cost Crocodile. We have the 4 beautiful alt arts here. This card's basically the face of this deck. It's pretty much the best body to play later in the game. It's a 9K for 8, which is, I think, our best stat line that we can get Dawn-wise. And also, it just heals you for Dawn -2 on play. So, easiest heal to get. Best on opponent's turn effect, just cycling a card for pretty much free with this leader effect. Obviously, if we want to use another Dawn minus effect, we're going minus in Dawn. But if we're already at 10 Dawn, this is just free. You can use this every turn and just cycle whatever you need out of your hand and get whatever cards you need. It is so good in the late game, especially when you get multiple on board, and you can just pretty much turn your hand into whatever you want it to be. I love this card and have a whole lot of fun playing it. Now let's get into the cards that are not Baroqueworks. These are all the Baroqueworks cards minus 1 that I'm going to talk about later. But next up here, we have 3 of Kikunojo. Kikunojo is going to be the card introduced in OP06 that almost every yellow deck plays at this point. This card is insane. People know that by now. But in this deck, it has a really niche use with an event that we're going to talk about later. But pretty much just a fantastic body. One of my favorite triggers to get, because we are constantly gaining life later in the game with our large characters. And getting this off of that is always going to be good. Also, if I'm on 4 Dawn and I don't have like a Bon Clay or a Miss Wednesday, I'm probably just going to play the Kikunojo out. It's a 4/6 at the end of the day. So next up here, we've got Gadatsu. 2 of Gadatsu. Pretty much this is much needed removal. I don't really have that much great early game removal. So if we're playing against black decks, our biggest threat is going to be 4-cost Kuzan. That card is going to really destroy our big cost card. So pretty much this is going to get rid of those threats in the early game that we don't want to deal with. perfectly on curve, right? If you're going first and they played a Kuzan on 4, I can play Gidatsu next turn and pop it while getting a 6k on board. So really good niche card there. And late game, when your opponent's low on life, pretty much just a 1k counter, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But pretty much just good for the early game in general. And next up here, let's get into our last 2k. What would a yellow deck be without running 2k Beige? So obviously one of our next best triggers here, if your opponent's going for game and you have low amount of life, obviously we know by now Beige is going to save you so many times, more times than I can count, that's for sure. Honestly, playing this deck, Beige hasn't saved me a lot, not gonna lie. Sometimes I think about cutting it because I swear every time I trigger Beige, it's when they have no attacks left or it's like my first life in the early game. But still, Beige's power cannot be denied. We're gaining life a lot, so the chance we get good Beige triggers are going to be very high in this deck, and he's a really good card to run. All right, and next up here, let's get into our non-searchable big bodies. First up here, we've got 7-cost Charlotte Lin. This is, I think, a card that a lot of Purple Yellow Crocs don't run, and I think that's really wrong, in my opinion. So just first of all, the 7-cost cost line is really good because a lot of the times we'll be on 7 and we just won't have a great play to use. Like I see a lot of these Purple Yellow Croc decks only playing 8 and aboves, but it's really good if you can ramp to 7 and play this early. It's like pretty much the best card possible. If I go second and I play Bon Clay to go to 5, next turn I'm at 7 and I can play this right on curve. That's like my best curve I can get. Going second, you play Bon Clay into Lin, very strong, puts your opponent in a really tough situation. And 9 times out of 10, they're usually going to give you a life because we just played an 8k, and if you take a life, you are going to be in very dangerous territory. This card is really strong, but probably, I'd say the weakest large character that I can draw later in the game. But we have a ton of ways to trash stuff, so going to be one of the main targets that I'm trashing later in the game with a Crocodile as well. Next up here, we've got 2 of 8-cost Katakuri. So 8-cost Kata, another very strong yellow card that everybody knows how strong is now. I think a lot of yellow decks are running less and less of this, but this card is still really good this set. A lot of good targets, whether it is 8-cost Moria, you'll see I actually use it against one today, 8-cost Kid, right? There's a ton of characters that we can remove with this, not to mention it still has the value to put a lot of these cards in life, which is really strong. We could put a Miss Valentine back into life, trigger another search, and we can put a Miss All Sunday into life, which is really good later in the game, drawing one and getting a 5k on board again. Or even like stuff like Kikunojo, really good there. Getting the 6k right back out for free. Free heal and free trigger sounds good to me, and on an AK body, really strong card, and probably the most flexible big cost card we have in the deck. And last up for the big cost here, we have 3 of 9-cost Yamato. So this one is really good. It's our highest costed character on a 9k body, which is still good. But pretty much it is one of our best removals, like as our first character that we play. Because in this deck, you'll see in the games today, and I'll probably explain it, I really don't counter out early. I just take life, get a whole ton of cards in hand. I'll go to 1 and then play Yamato next turn, pop something big, because they usually have like 3 or 4 life at that point, so we can kill like a 4-drop or something. And then we get the 9k on board, heal 1. So really good card in this deck. One of our best removal options. And just, you know, one of the easiest ways we can do to heal, right? If we're doing Big Mom, it gives them the option to trash a card and not heal us. If we're doing Katakuri, we have to have a good target to heal. If we're doing Crocodile, we have to do Dom -2, which if we're playing it right on 8, it's kind of tough. Because if we use 2 Dom- effects on our opponent's turn, then next turn we're only on 7. So probably the least committal 9-cost or big body we can play. And I love it for that reason in this deck. Next up here, our last searchable Brockworks card that I did not talk about earlier, because I wanted to save it for last. It is going to be O Come My Way or O Kama Way, if you want the Japanese version. But this card is insane, guys. Absolutely bonkers card. I cannot believe they printed this, but I'm going to say this deck needed it. Pretty much, it just turns any character into a blocker for 1 Dawn and a Dawn minus, which obviously the Dawn minus in this leader is free. So, right, let's go over the characters that we can do for that, right? If we have a board of large costs, say they swing crazy like a 15 at Crocodile, I can just go 1 Dawn. All right, here's, you can target my Miss Valentine, and you pretty much converted her into a 2-cost blocker as well as a searcher. One of my favorite ones is if they're swinging for game and they only have a certain amount of swings, you can do this, beat that attack by turning this into your Kikunojo, and then let your Kikunojo die and heal 1. So we just had a 1 Dawn infinite counter pretty much and heal 1. Absolutely insane. This card has so many uses and is the main reason why I'm never ever scared to go low on life with this deck. If I'm low on life and I have like 7 cards in hand, you know, most decks you're like, okay, I just won, you don't have any blockers, the game's over. Okamawe is basically going to make it so your opponent can never think like that. If they try to attach all Dawn to one character and go for it, right, I'm just doing 1 Dawn, counter out for free. Arguably the best card in the deck right next to 8-drop Croc, but really, really strong and a great addition from EB. Next up here, our only other 1-cost event is going to be Blast Breath. So just another great counter option. This card's always going to be great in this deck. Pretty much just a free 1 for 4, early game or late game. A little bit situational. A lot of the times I'm getting rid of it with Crocodile Effect because I'll have better options or it's just not great. But I still do love this card and it has its spots for sure. And last but not least, that is not all, folks. We have 2 more events. That is going to be 2 of the soon-to-be banned Reject. Reject is nuts in this deck, and I see a lot of Crocs not running it as well. As I was saying earlier in the early game, cards like Kuzan are going to be really, really detrimental to this deck. And this is one of the only ways to get rid of stuff early in the game. 4 to KO 5 is really, really strong. Against like RP Law, if they play like a 5-cost kid, you can just KO it for 4. Really strong. And then in the late game, the other effect, obviously, taking a life. If we don't have enough characters on board, we can allow ourselves to go for game. Just insane card, guys. Like, there's a reason it's getting banned. And I'm going to use it while I can, especially with a leader that is not the best ever. But that is going to pretty much be it. That is the deck list, guys. Had a lot of fun with this leader again today. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. We did end up getting the victory, but that is going to be it. Let's get right into the gameplay. Right, and getting into game 1 here, we're going to be going against Blue and Yellow Queen. Definitely not the deck I expected to see our first round of locals here, but a welcome surprise nonetheless. Don't actually think I played this matchup ever before today. But it was a fun match, and we're going to get into it. I think I ended up winning dice roll and choosing first. No, he wound up winning it and choosing first for himself. But we're going to be going second, get the Miss Valentine on 1, which is always our best start on 2. We'll grab the 2K Miss Double Finger because I really don't think I had any more options that were going to be good there. He'll go 5. I'm going to take that. As I was saying earlier in the video, I always take early, pretty much down to 1 because we can just heal it back, and I'm really not scared of dying later in the games. But he's going to play the 3-cost Doffy on his turn, searching the top 5 and putting them back in whatever order he desires. And he's actually going to choose to put it to the bottom, which is always what you like to see, because now you know there's not some crazy Sanji turn incoming or anything like that. But we're going to go ahead and play the 4-cost Bon Clay. Beautiful alt art there, the 1-of in the deck. Fortunately, we drew it and swing 6. He will actually take the 6 with no trigger, which is very nice for us. And we'll pass to him. Now on 5 Dawn, sometimes these decks run X-Drake. I run X-Drake in my version, but looks like he doesn't. He'll swing 6, we'll take. And there is the Kikunojo being rewarded for taking these early swings. And now with 4 Dawn remaining, he can either play another Doflamingo, but looks like he's going to do 3 for a 3-cost Boa Hancock. And since we ramped with the Bon Clay last turn, we will be on 7 Dawn this turn. Unfortunately, do not have a 7-cost Big Mom right now. Would definitely prefer that, but we do have the Gadatsu to KO his 3-cost Doffy, as he does have 3 life. We'll swing a 6 with that Okiku that we triggered out for free. Pretty much just check in hand for 2Ks right now. And he is going to reveal that he does have one with the Gion. We'll put the other 2 on Croc and swing 7 as he triggers out another 3-cost Boa Hancock. Definitely one of the least menacing triggers that we can, be hit by. Something like a Gravity Blade trigger would be way worse, bottom decking either the Bon Clay or Okiku. But back to him, now on 7 Dawn for himself. Does not have many great 7 Dawn plays other than Raging Tiger, and looks like he doesn't have it. He'll go ahead and play the Hiyori, putting one of his cards into his life. After he did this, I was kind of like thinking that it was going to be something like an Onami or something that was going to get rid of a card on my board. And then he's actually going to follow it up with a 4-cost Pudding. I think at that moment in time we had 7 cards in hand, so that is going to pretty much trash 2 and completely get rid of that hand that we got from life and deck. So now drawing 5, we do draw into a 7-cost Big Mom, which is really good in this deck as he swings 6, and I'm going to give him a 2K counter. Now with not a lot of cards in hand, kind of a little bit scared that he's going to start overwhelming me. So going to counter out there while we can. We'll just go ahead and snap the 7-cost Big Mom on 9 Dawn here, and he's going to instantly say, I can heal that. Does not want any of his triggers to get trashed. We'll follow it up with a 6K swing as he takes with no trigger. Another 6K swing here with Gadatsu. He's going to be blocked by a Boa Hancock, and then we'll go 7 once again, trying to put him down to 1. But I think he's going to choose to, block with his other Boa here, getting rid of all the blockers on board as we have a very menacing board, especially if he plays a large costed body next turn, because now that Bon Clay is going to copy it. This is the power of this card because you have to get rid of it. I'm sure you want to get rid of Okiku or Linlin, but Bon Clay is now a massive threat. So he's actually going to play Yamato, and instead of getting rid of the Okiku, he's going to have to get rid of that Bon Clay. As much as he would have liked to get rid of it, Bon Clay was now swinging for 9, and you do not want that. You're pretty much dead next turn if I have that option. So we'll go 1 on Kikunojo. Swing 7, looks like he did get a trigger, but is going to choose not to use it here. We'll go 1 on Gadatsu, swing another 7. Going to demand a 2 and a 1 or a 0-cost event. That is going to be the 0-cost event, trashing the Sanji. We'll go 8. He will take, if that was not a trigger, I was just going to go all on Croc and win, but he does get the Brule. So we just swing 5 with Croc and then play an 8-cost Croc of our own, going up to 4 life again. Case in point, why I'm not afraid to take life early. And now our board is absolutely menacing as he plays another Yamato, healing himself up 1 and KOing the Kiku, which heals us up to 5. Pretty funny there that we end up with more life than we started with. But leave it to Queen. That is pretty much one of the only decks where that will ever happen. So he's actually swinging 6 at Gadatsu. I'm going to 2K out, and then a 9 at Big Mom. We'll 2K out of that as well. And now at this point, I'm pretty much just set for going for game. He has to take the first 7. He'll Beige my Croc, but I have 9 Dawn left, and that's going to go on Big Mom to end the game there. So pretty solid game 1, honestly. I think this matchup is probably Croc favored. It's just a lot less clunky for me to deal with stuff, I think. He has Yamatos and stuff, but they really do not affect the cards that matter on my board. So that is going to be into that. Let's get into the next game. And getting into game 2 here, we're going to be going against another blue deck in Don Quixote Doflamingo. On the right here, this Don Quixote Doflamingo player has been playing this guy since set 1. This is his favorite leader. He literally has not switched off this leader from OP01. So if there's a good Doffy performance you'll ever see, it's going to be from this guy. He's going to actually go second. We did win the dice roll, taking him off curve. And we also do get the Miss Wednesday on a 3 Dawn after he played the Prona on 2, which never really feels good. So he will go 8 at lead and play out the 6K Moria on the board. We'll just do Miss Wednesday effect and go ahead and take that. No trigger. Now, Miss Wednesday has ramped us up to 6 here. So we're going to go ahead and attach 1, swing 6 at lead. Did not want to swing 6 at Moria because I wanted to force a 2K as we play a Miss All Sunday, ramp 1, and draw 1 for ourselves. So now Miss Wednesday is going to ramp us again, and we're going to be at 10 Dawn next turn. That was 3 ramps out of this deck, and now we instantly get to our large costed bodies. So he'll go 2 on the Moria. We use Miss Wednesday effect, taking that 8K swing. Another 3 on leader. He'll go another 8, playing out a 4-cost Moria and grabbing back the 2K. We are going to take that, trigger a reject trigger, and draw 1. As I said, not afraid to go down in life, but I am getting a lot of cards in hand. And if you know blue, there is a certain card in blue that can screw over someone having a lot of cards in hand. So unfortunately, I was not thinking to play around that because I didn't think he ran it. So we're going to start swinging into board as he counters out, and we're going to play that Yamato to KO this 6K Moria and heal 1. So at this point, he can Red Rock Yamato, but if he does, he can't really do anything significant afterwards. So I have about 10 cards in hand here. And don't cringe at this next play, but it is pretty rough. So after thinking what to do here, he's going to go ahead and go 1 for a 1-cost Verona, setting up his leader effect once again this turn, because I think he already used it a couple times, so it was not set up for this turn here. So going to set it up with a Perona there. 2 Dawn for lead and 1 for leader effect, playing out the Jinbei promo. We'll use Miss Wednesday effect to get 1 Dawn active. And we're going to go ahead and take that, which was a vital mistake as he plays the Pudding from 11 cards in hand down to 5. I know. Feel free to flame me in the comments, guys. I legitimately did not think he ran it. And I wasn't playing around it. I was thinking about it from the start of the game, but I pretty much said, I'm just going to play like he doesn't have it. And clearly that was stupid because I just trashed 6 cards. So he'll go 5 at Nico Robin, and I'll have to give him a 1K as he passes back to me in a really, really rough spot right now. We'll go 5 at the 5K Moria. Thinking about these swings here, he's going to think about if he wants to counter out or not, and he's going to choose to give. I know that Jinbei is going to bottom deck my Miss Wednesday, but I do need to get rid of it, so I'll at least make use and swing at it with the Miss Wednesday. And then we'll go 5K at lead. He will counter out of that and then take the 9K from Yamato as we put the Miss All Sunday back into life with Katakuri. One of the best cards you can do that with, as it's just going to be a free 5K that draws you a card in this deck in particular. So going to go 5K with Pudding, really making use of the low cards in our hand. As he goes 7 lead, we'll take, triggering the Miss All Sunday, and drawing 1 here. Really, really great trigger, and then he'll do 6 for a Red Rock, getting rid of the Yamato. So at this point, it's a little late because I'm going to start just playing a large body every turn. So it's a little late to start removing stuff, as I'm always going to have something that's a threat. So we'll go 5K to the Pudding with Miss All Sunday. And then we'll go 5 to lead, trying to get a counter out of hand before I swing at this Moria. So we'll go 2 here and go 10 at Moria as we play an 8-cost Crocodile, healing ourselves up back to 2. We have healed a lot this game, and we're just removing his board every turn, so he only has leader swing every time. So it's pretty much we take a hit, heal, we take a hit, heal, which is the power of this deck, truly. And really good against decks like this that don't really go crazy wide. Obviously, Doffy has the ability to, but he has been more focused on removal in this game than really going wide. So we're going to go ahead and use Croc Effect as he swings 6 here, drawing 1 and trashing the Miss Wednesday from hand as we go ahead and take that 6K swing. He'll drop Mihawk, going to bottom deck the Miss All Sunday. Not really a big deal. And he'll pass back to us. So now he has a character to swing back into ours with, which is kind of a problem, but we're going to deal with it. We'll go 5, he'll counter. We'll go 8, he will take, and we'll go another 9, and he'll take that too. As we play another Yamato, healing again and KOing one of his Peronas. So now my board is getting way out of hand. You have 1 life. If he does not have a blocker this next turn, this game is pretty much over. I think, do I have a Blast Breath in hand? I don't. So if he swings big at one of my characters, I might have to give. So he does swing into Katakuri for, I think that's 13. We're going to go ahead and activate Croc Effect. Seeing what we want to trash here, we have Double Okamaway, but at this point it's not really helping, so I actually get rid of 1 and give him the Katakuri. He'll swing 5 at lead. We'll give him an easy 1K as he does another Red Rock, bottom decking the Yamato. There, I think he should have bottom decked the Crocodile. Maybe think he'd get rid of it with something else, but not going to do that there as he counters out of the 9K swing, as he knew if he took that, I would have just gone 15 and 1. So going to play the Miss Valentine here, searching the top 5. Looks like we see 2 8-cost Crocs in that, so we're going to go ahead and grab 1. As we swing a 5K to lead, he's going to go ahead and counter out of that. We'll play the 8-cost Croc, heal ourselves once again up to 3, and pass to him. So putting himself in a position once again where if he does not attack into, or sorry, if he does not play a blocker, I'm just going to attack and lead and win game next turn, as he only has 2 cards in hand. He's going to play the Weevil, do what he can, get the counter out of his hand and draw a card. But at this point in time, he really needs to get rid of at least one of my Crocodiles. But even then, if you don't have the Dawn to play a blocker, this game is just over. Even if you swing big and get rid of one, I still have 2 big swings coming at you. With 2 cards in hand, there's no way you're getting out of that. So he's going to go ahead and attach 3 to Mihawk, go 12 at Crocodile. That is going to be, after I use Crocodile effect, a perfect Blast Breath, bringing it up to 13 here. And with that, it is pretty much wraps. He's going to go ahead and use Leader Effect to bring out a Rested Doflamingo, so he can now block with that as he uses his effect for the future turns. But unfortunately, I don't really think there are going to be any future turns here, as he does only have 2 cards in hand. So we'll go 9 and 9, and that is going to be the game. And getting into our final match here, getting to the finals with Purple Yellow Croc, we're going to be going against a Black and Yellow Luffy. Definitely a deck this set to be scared of. He's going to get first and drop a Flampe, immediately taking life and drawing 1. That is a fantastic buff to this deck that we got in EB. So we're going to go ahead and play the Miss Valentine and grab a 2k Miss Doublefinger. As he swings 8, we'll take that, do the reject trigger, and draw 1. Passing back to us on 4, unfortunately we do not have the Bon Clay, even though we have a 7-cost Mom in hand. So after a little bit of consideration here, I'm actually just going to go ahead and swing 5 at lead. I don't really care that I'm giving him lower life right now. I really worry about that when Luffy's at 1 or 2. And we're going to actually play a Miss Doublefinger on the board, trashing 1 Big Mom from hand and ramping 1 so we can play the other one next turn. Unfortunately didn't have a better ramp option, but I think that was the right play. So he's going to go ahead and play Garp, searching out a 5-cost Rush Ace as he plays a Hiyori for 2. Swapping his life for one of the brothers, going to play the 2-cost Sabo, immediately bring out that 5-cost and buffing his leader to 7k. And he'll go ahead and trash 2 of the 5-cost brothers. As he swings 7 to lead, we'll go ahead and take that one with no trigger. So a little bit of a scary spot already. He's going pretty turbo. And thinking about playing the Big Mom here, because I know he's probably just going to choose to trash the life. But it's still probably the right play, especially when he does that and trashes the 8-cost Moria. That is probably the best target we could have gotten with that Lin there for sure. So now on his turn, he's going to go ahead and use the 3 Brothers Bond, search the top 5. He will grab the 2-cost Monkey D. Luffy there. Always looking for the 2-cost brothers with that event for the most part. 2 on lead is going to activate Leader Effect here. And his trash is already pretty large, so thanks to Sabo. He'll go ahead and put a Luffy and Ace in life here. We know he had that Luffy, he'll immediately use it, popping it onto board and buffing Leader. And he'll put the rest on lead, go 11k lead. We are obviously taking that one. Now with a lot of cards in hand and 1 life though, this is a really scary spot, no doubt. So it looks like we do have the Croc in hand. So we're going to go ahead and swing, thinking about swinging at least 8, because we don't really want to put him to 1, but bottom decking that Ace isn't that bad. And he already has a 5-cost Luffy on board, so he's going down to 0 anyway. And we're just going to go ahead and play that Croc and heal 1. So now opponent on 9, Dawn here, I think. I'm going to go ahead and activate that Luffy effect as I figured he would, and drawing 1. Now at 8k for both turns, so this is not an easy card to swing back into. He'll go ahead and activate Leader Effect right away here. Looks like he has an Ace and possibly another Luffy in there. But he'll choose to most likely activate Leader Effect. Yep, trashing that Luffy there. And I'm going to go ahead and put most likely, yeah, Luffy and Ace into life. And going to go ahead and trash the Garp for another Garp. Probably searching for another 2-cost brother if he can. Looks like he does see the Luffy there, so really good pickup for him. We'll go ahead and immediately spend 2 to play it. Bring out that Luffy onto board once again here, buffing Leader to 7. This deck really plays its own game for a while for sure, and then plays a 4-cost Borsalino on the board. Not wanting to die next turn, he'll swing 8. We will trigger a Kikanojo, which is very good for us as he swings 9 here. We're going to go ahead and go 1 for an Okamawe, targeting the Miss Valentine, and basically treating it as a free block. So really good card in this matchup as he does swing big a lot. So now back on us, just explaining the pretty much 8-drop Croc opponent's turn effect to him here. We'll be on 9 Dawn again, so we could play a Yamato, but we're not KOing anything other than Hiyori, so we're going to go ahead and go 8 at Luffy. He's going to give us that, not wanting to have us take cards out of his hand. As we do have a lot in ours, we'll go ahead and go 9 at 7. He'll block with the Borsalino. And then we will choose to, with our remaining 9 Dawn, attach 1 to that Kiku we triggered out, go 7 at lead, demanding a 1k. If he does not want that ace bottom decked, he'll go ahead and give us a 2k Flampe as we play another Crocodile, healing back to 2, and passing back to him as our leader unfortunately cannot swing at anything. So now opponent on 10 Dawn, if he does have the Moria, he can do it with leader effects since he already has a 5-cost Luffy on board. That card is so good in this deck. He'll go ahead and look through his trash here, just seeing what he is going to use. Going to put 2 on lead, trashing the Sabo from hand. That is a pretty much no-brainer that he's going to play that right now. Going to put the Luffy and the Sabo into life as he plays out that 8-cost Moria. I think the only reason really this deck works, if 8-cost Moria was not a card, I don't really think this leader would ever be good. But he's going to go ahead and use both 2-drop effects, buffing his leader to 9, and getting a blocker on board as well. I think he actually forgot to draw 2 and trash 2 here, which is a bit unfortunate. So he'll go 8 at lead. We'll use Croc effect to get 1 active and trash a Kiku, as we use another one for a Blast Breath to counter out of there, because we know an 11k is coming, and we're going to take that going down to 1. Arguably should have swung at my board instead. I get it's easier to counter out, but I mean, leaving this many big characters on board is a bit risky. So we're going to go ahead and go 8 at Luffy once again. He is going to give. We'll go 9 at 9. That gives him a 2k out of hand, and we'll go ahead and go another 9 as he counters with the Sabo, which kind of makes me think that he doesn't have a whole lot of counter in hand. And now with all these cards in hand, we have a few plays. We either do the Katakuri or possibly even search with the Miss Valentine. But we're going to go ahead and play the Katakuri, putting the Moria into his life. You do not want to have these face-up cards in your life as Black Yellow Luffy, so that's definitely one of the best cards in this deck. So he's going to go ahead and trash the Moria with the 5-cost Luffy. You love to see it. As he's going to go ahead and trash a 2-cost Sabo with leader effect, putting a Sabo and Luffy into life once again. And unfortunately, he has another 8-cost Moria here, which is going to buff his leader to 9k once again. So this time is going to use the Sabo effect on play, trashing an ace in the Garp, and then I'll go ahead and do the Luffy, leader going to 9, and then just use the Luffy effect because he can. It does not really make a difference in this deck in particular, so he'll go 8 at lead. We'll activate Croc effect, drawing 1, trashing the Big Mom, which really doesn't have a use at this point in the game. So we'll go ahead and do double 2k out of that 8k swing. And then I think he's a bit scared with 2 cards in hand of dying this next turn, so he definitely probably wants to swing at one of my characters on board. So with 11k, you could swing into Croc, but he's going to go ahead and choose to swing into Big Mom, which might be harder to counter out. But we have so many cards in hand, that's going to be an easy double 2k. As we now at this point have guaranteed lethal, as he doesn't have many cards to counter out. We'll go 9, he'll give us a 1. We'll go another 9 as he's forced to give us the other 2. We'll go another 9, he blocks, another 9, he blocks, and rest on Croc. That is going to be big finals. And that is going to be the video, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Definitely a bit of a long one. I apologize for yapping so much to you guys, but I really do like this deck, and I like talking about it. I think we had a lot of good games today that showed the strength of this deck. Just the ability to basically chain 7, 8, 9 cost characters while healing and removing stuff every single turn is pretty criminal with this deck, as you're really never in a spot where you're going to die. Unless they get you really low on cards in hand, because cards like Okama Way, even random Bages out of life, like this leader's hard to kill, guys. Really, really fun to play as well. Probably going to be my absolute main for the EB set. Was already planning on maining him, and even more so after this tournament. Very, very fun. But looks like the current poll, the Red-Green Odin is going to be winning for next week. So probably going to be looking forward to a Red-Green Odin local video next week. Unless Iceberg makes a little bit of a comeback, but we'll go ahead and see that. I am playing Iceberg this set. He's a whole lot of fun, so please do vote Iceberg, guys, if you can. I love playing that leader. And if you could, please do drop a subscription to the channel. It really does help out a lot. We are getting very close to 6K subs. And we do have a giveaway incoming very soon. We finally got our OP06 boxes in, so look forward to that. The link for the giveaway will be in the description. But anyways, you guys have a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed the video, but I'm gonna head out of here. Peace.